For decades, Somali pirates have been a notorious symbol of chaos on the high seas. Unlike the romanticized figures of Blackbeard or Captain Kidd, these men are no swashbuckling legends. They are lean, desperate, and armed with modern weapons. Speedboats replace wooden galleons. AK-47s and RPGs replace cutlasses. Their raids have captured global attention and sent shivers across international shipping lanes. But what happens when these pirates, hardened by poverty and audacity, collide with the most powerful maritime force in human history, the United States Navy? That question is not just hypothetical. Again and again, it has been answered with precision, technology, and overwhelming force. The birth of modern piracy. The roots of Somali piracy trace back to the early 1990s, when President Said Barre's government collapsed in 1991. Somalia fell into civil war. With no central authority, the nation's coastline, one of the richest fishing zones in the world, was left undefended. Foreign fleets from Europe and Asia flooded Somali waters, stripping fish stocks bare and even dumping toxic waste along the coast. Local fishermen, stripped of their livelihood, grew desperate. Some picked up rifles and boarded skiffs, at first claiming to be coast guards, defending their waters. But desperation soon gave way to greed. By the early 2000s, piracy had become a full-blown criminal enterprise. Small villages like Isle and Hopio became pirate havens. Warlords armed crews with fast skiffs, GPS trackers, and automatic weapons. Their methods were simple but deadly. Swarm a vessel, fire into the air, overwhelm the crew, and demand ransom. At their peak, Somali pirates collected hundreds of millions of dollars. The ransoms bought mansions, new boats, and weapons. But their growing audacity also attracted the attention of the U.S. Navy. The modern pirate arsenal. Somali pirate tactics were brutal and efficient. They operated in small, agile boats, sometimes using captured fishing trawlers as mother ships to extend their range. Their weapons of choice: AK-47 assault rifles, cheap and plentiful. Rocket-propelled grenades, effective at intimidating larger ships. Machetes and knives for boarding. Satellite phones, and GPS devices for navigation. They struck along critical shipping lanes in the Gulf of Aden and the Arabian Sea, routes that carry nearly 20% of the world's traded goods. Oil tankers, container ships, and luxury yachts became prey. Crews were taken hostage, ships anchored offshore, and ransoms demanded, sometimes in the millions. Enter the U.S. Navy. Standing against them was a very different kind of adversary. The United States Navy is the most advanced naval force in the world. With destroyers, aircraft carriers, submarines, and drones, it embodies technological dominance and strategic precision. Its mission in these waters: safeguard freedom of navigation and ensure international trade routes remain open. Piracy, no matter how small, was a threat to global order, and the Navy responded accordingly. To fight piracy, the Navy doesn't always reach for missiles and bombs. Instead, it employs a mix of lethal and non-lethal tools. Long-range acoustic devices, emitting painful sound waves to incapacitate pirates without permanent harm. Water cannons, blasting skiffs and flooding engines. Helicopters and UAVs, providing surveillance and deterrence. But when non-lethal measures fail, lethal force is swift and precise. The Maersk, Alabama incident, April 2009. The container ship MV Maersk, Alabama sailed through the Indian Ocean carrying food aid. It was a routine voyage, until 4 Somali pirates approached in a skiff. They boarded quickly, seizing the crew. In the chaos, the pirates took Captain Richard Phillips hostage and fled in a lifeboat. For the world, it was a chilling headline. For the U.S. Navy, it was a call to action. Within hours, the guided missile destroyer U.S. Bainbridge and other naval vessels surrounded the lifeboat. Negotiations dragged on for days. The pirates grew desperate. The standoff threatened to spiral into tragedy. Then, on April 12th, U.S. Navy SEALs acted. 3 snipers, positioned on the deck of the Bainbridge, waited for the perfect moment. When the lifeboat shifted suddenly and the pirates exposed themselves, the command came. 3 shots, 3 kills. Captain Phillips was pulled out alive, unharmed. This operation, later immortalized in the film Captain Phillips, demonstrated not just American firepower, but discipline. Every trigger pull was measured, every second calculated. U.S. Nicholas and the pirate skiff. 1 year later, April 2010, the U.S. Nicholas, a frigate patrolling the Indian Ocean, detected a pirate skiff. As the Navy ship closed in, the pirates opened fire, unleashing their AK-47s at one of the most sophisticated warships afloat. The response was immediate. The Nicholas returned fire, disabling the skiff. A boarding team captured the pirates, while others abandoned their vessel and were taken into custody. For the pirates, it was another disaster. For the Navy, another demonstration that no skiff, no matter how daring, could match an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer or an Oliver Hazard Perry-class frigate, equipped with radar, missiles, and trained crews. Technology meets desperation. Why do Somali pirates keep trying? The answer lies in desperation. Poverty, instability, and the lure of millions drive men into dangerous waters. But their outdated tactics, wooden skiffs, cheap rifles, cannot stand against the Navy's modern arsenal. Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, with their Aegis combat system, can track and neutralize multiple threats at once. Virginia-class submarines lurk unseen, projecting power from beneath the surface. Surveillance drones like the MQ-9 Reaper map every movement from the sky. And then there are the cutting-edge vessels. The U.S. Zumwalt, a stealth destroyer nearly invisible to radar, designed for versatility. Soon, the Navy will field hypersonic weapons capable of striking at over Mach 5, further extending its dominance. Against this, pirates armed with AK-47s are outmatched. Every encounter underscores the disparity between desperation and discipline. International cooperation. The fight against piracy isn't America's alone. Organizations like the International Maritime Bureau track incidents, while the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea provides the legal framework for action. Multinational naval task forces, such as Combined Task Force 150 and Combined Task Force 151, patrol high-risk waters. European, Asian, and Middle Eastern navies join the U.S. in coordinated patrols, surveillance, and intelligence sharing. These collaborations remind the world that piracy is not just Somalia's problem, but a global one. Ethical warfare at sea. Modern maritime security isn't only about firepower, it's about restraint. The Navy often faces split-second decisions: when to fire, when to deter, when to de-escalate. Non-lethal tools like LRADs and water cannons allow sailors to repel pirates without bloodshed when possible. This balance, deterrence without escalation, is part of the Navy's ethos. It ensures freedom of navigation while minimizing unnecessary conflict. The stakes of maritime security. Why does it matter? Because the oceans are the arteries of the global economy. Over 90% of world trade moves by sea. Oil tankers, container ships, food supplies, all pass through choke points like the Strait of Hormuz and the Gulf of Aden. A single hijacking can disrupt millions of dollars of commerce. A series of successful attacks could shake confidence in global trade routes. The Navy's presence ensures stability not only for America, but for the entire world. The human element. Behind the steel and strategy are people. Sailors on months-long deployments, patrolling treacherous waters. SEALs who train endlessly for missions where one mistake costs lives. Crews who know that every radar ping, every unidentified skiff, could be a threat. Their vigilance, discipline, and courage form the backbone of maritime security. Pirates and their fate. For Somali pirates, every raid is a gamble. Driven by desperation and greed, they risk everything for the promise of ransom. But again and again, their story ends the same way. Destroyed skiffs, captured crews, lives lost to overwhelming naval force. Their resilience should not be underestimated, but neither should their underestimation of the U.S. Navy. Chaos versus steel. The struggle between Somali pirates and the U.S. Navy is more than a battle at sea. It is a clash between two worlds. On one side, desperation born of poverty and lawlessness. On the other, innovation, discipline, and overwhelming force. The pirates symbolize chaos. The Navy, order. Together, they tell a story of risk and resilience, of ancient crimes meeting modern steel. In the end, piracy remains a perilous gamble, and the U.S. Navy stands as a guardian of the oceans, ensuring that the world's trade routes remain open, safe, and free. If this story gave you a deeper look into the hidden battles of the sea, consider supporting the work that brings them to light. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others. Your support helps us keep telling the untold stories of courage, discipline, and survival on the world's oceans. Together, we ensure these voices are never forgotten. Stay vigilant, stay strong, and remember, on the high seas, chaos may rise, but steel always prevails.